Hello in the chat.
Hello.
Can you see us? Can you hear us? Everything working in order? I really hope. There might be a
Let us know
little
if you can
delay.
see us.
Yep. I'm also monitoring the stream on my phone like last
Oh,
time.
good. I can see
Might take a it might take a little bit. Beardy has said greet. Eric says hello. Ah, yes, there we are. Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. I was just telling the guys, this is the second stream that we have done and that I have done, and I'm still pretty nervous about the technological aspects of this, so if I seem like I'm shitting myself, now you know why. How are you guys in the chat doing? How are you, my friends, doing? How is the day? Is it a good Monday?
It's a great Monday.
I replied out loud.
No, it's a very great Monday. Actually, it's already Monday evening here, over here.
Ah, well, it's even better now that it's almost over.
Yeah, lucky you.
So if anyone has anything they would like to know, anyone in the chat, please feel free to leave it there. I'm monitoring the chat and I will interrupt anybody who's talking to ask things if it's appropriate. I have a couple of prepared questions, but mostly I think we would all love to hear your perspective, Sascha, about the state of modern metal. This is something that you and I have discussed extensively over the phone. Talking about like overly perfected vocals, overproduced kind of everything. I mean, where do we even begin with this? What's like?
We can begin in the 90s,
Okay,
where it all
sure.
started.
Oh God.
Should we introduce you? Does everyone know who Sascha is? Sascha worked on like every album ever in power metal.
Not really, but quite some.
Okay.
If you've listened to symphonic or power or melodic metal for the last like at least 20 years, you are definitely familiar with Sascha's work.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, the whole thing, I really think it started in the 90s already when this let's make it perfect type of thing started, because the technical possibilities started to grow in a way. I mean, I already started tuning vocals. It was something like very interesting to be able to make little failures great again. It's like, for example, you have a good vocal performance. You have to know we used to record on tape machines, right? So it's not like today that where you can just record like little bits. I mean, you could punch in, but you do this 5 times and there's a hole. And and you usually had like much more time, pre-roll time to listen to it because it was a tape rewinding. Then you punch in and it was running, and you were going for much longer takes as you usually do today. And then we had found out these things that you could do with modern technology back in the day. Like that was even before hard disk recording, when I started tuning vocals with samplers. So I was like recording a phrase in the archive sampler that I had, or I had a couple of samplers and stuff, because I was doing basically a lot of keyboard stuff back in the day. I don't do this anymore since a long time. But in the beginning of the 90s, I was really working on that stuff a lot. And so I was running like this vocal phrase into the sampler and used the pitch wheel, triggered the sample with MIDI, used the pitch wheel in the pause of the vocal. I was going higher, so the timing is back and stuff like that, and this is how it started. And it worked, and it was just there to make little failures great. I mean, takes with little failures great before you ruin the take by punching in.
Right.
And that was really fine. And that is still a fine way of approaching music, because it's still very musical. But there's a long way that followed. I mean, with the introduction of autotune, for example, back in the day, everybody was able to do this type of thing with really less work. So everybody started to put on autotune. And autotune is a correction of the tonal correction of pitch correction. That does it automatic. So it's not really something that you totally control. You could control it, but you don't.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah.
Sorry. Just for anyone in the chat who isn't a musician or isn't familiar with any sort of like audio production, can we debunk the whole thing about like auto-tune making a bad singer good and so on? Is this something that you can feasibly do, or is that
No.
That's over the line?
I don't really think you can make a bad singer good, but you can make a good performance better sometimes. But I really have the feeling, I mean, we talked about this many times, I guess, and I have many artists nowadays that really want this, that really want like perfect vocals. And all the time I do it. If it's really on request, I do it, but I don't like it so much because when I do it, it loses a lot of the little imperfections. And I'm not saying, wow, rock and roll imperfections. You know, this is not what I'm talking about. Because some people also get confused with, oh, that's rock and roll just because it's not in time, or, you know, but that's not the case. It's, you have to know the stuff before you can be able to really be rock and roll, right? And the same goes for a vocal performance. The little things when you talk, I mean, you don't talk like this, right?
Of course.
And it's not normal. And you want to transport an emotion, and if it's corrected too much, it's totally unnatural. So the little nuances of pitch and stuff is a completely natural thing. And if you don't have it, it doesn't transport the emotions anymore so well.
Totally
So
agreed.
if you do that too much, this happens. And I mean, just listen to the modern pop music. Great singers, I mean, even really great singers get
Sorry, somebody is being incredibly inappropriate in the chat. Can we kick like these people out?
Yeah, I already booted him.
No, there's another one dropping the N-bomb.
Well, what is it saying?
Oh yeah, jeez.
Racial slurs, talking about my lady parts.
Yeah, jeez. All right, there we go. Okay, we're good. We're good.
Thank you.
Yeah, just boot without even bothering to mention them.
No.
Give them attention.
Yeah, right.
Good
Exactly.
point. Okay. Sorry.
Okay,
And people
No.
don't respond to trolls either. Don't, because their message repeats. So just completely ignore it if you're watching us, because it keeps coming back. So that's all. Anyway, sorry.
okay, shit happens.
That's
Man,
right.
nowadays. Anyway, so it can be used to make a good singer even a little bit better, partly, if you use it with like with a good feeling, you know, just on the right spots, and then it can really help. And then it's a good thing. It's maybe better because back in the day you used to sing it again and again and again, which is also not great because you sing it 10 times, you also lose the feeling. So
Yeah.
the balance is important. But how it's done today to really go for like every note. Oh, is that perfect? It's going to be analyzed like for perfection. And that's not the right thing to do, because when you do this, I made really comparisons with like very good vocal performances that you always can tune. And don't know any singer that sings completely perfect because it's not natural. And I think, yes, it's a good way of working on some stuff, but you shouldn't generally do it all the time. And I'm doing it basically just on stuff that disturbs me. And this is not a lot in the end of the mix, actually. Some people are just more sensitive because and I used to be like this, but I don't try to not care about it so much. I don't like, is there anything that is maybe not perfect? That's the wrong way to do it, I think.
I would say
In
so.
my own experience, I think a big difference nowadays between people that have something like auto-tune and slap it on all the time versus back in the day is that before, like, you have someone who knows the music and is, you know, really trying to get a good performance and stuff, hearing these little imperfections and having to work really hard to go in and correct them. Whereas a lot of people today think that, oh, I have auto-tune, I'll slap it on, everything will be perfect. I don't have to listen, I don't have to worry about it. And you get some pretty bad situations from that.
And that goes also for editing in general. I mean, I had situations already where people tell me, where we record something, I said like, oh, maybe this could be a little bit maybe more laid back, you know, it's a little bit rushing, and then maybe just build it up a little bit more towards the end. It's like, no, it's gonna be edited anyways. I said, what do you mean? Yeah, we usually edit every note of the guitar. I said like, maybe you do this, I don't do this. You play every note of the guitar maybe, but I don't edit every note of the guitar. And if you, I don't see the point of working like that, right? It's completely unmusical. Either you can play it or not. Some little parts that are hard with a little help can be fine, of course. But some people also just cut everything, you know, to the, I mean, every little bit on the guitar, every hit. And that this is not right, you know. There are some things that make sense in modern production, which is really depending. But for example, many times you would program drums first and later on replace them with real drums. Back in the day, you were maybe starting with the drums and put everything on the drums. Now, because of modern technology, people are starting to write songs, put their stuff on, and then there's a lot of performances that already somehow are good. They are on the programmed drums, which are quantized. And then you have a certain feeling that you put on top of quantized drums, which gives you again a good feeling, because you work with static time signature, timing, and you put your stuff, you can work with it and give it a certain feeling. And when you just replay the drums then with another new feeling, sometimes it doesn't work. And then if you then quantize the drums, it can work fine. I mean, it's a different thing when you play together, because then it really starts to adjust to each other. But if it's already recorded, it doesn't. So in some cases, it makes sense. In this case, for example, it makes sense. Oh, we go very deep into the production stuff, right?
This is great. This is great.
Yeah, speaking of another deep question, is there, like, with all of these different approaches, is there a way you prefer to work nowadays, having probably done all of them?
I totally, almost any time, depending on the situation, but almost any time I can, and I love really live recordings. And I did it a couple of times now. And the most extreme one was the last one I did. It was not metal, but I will do this with metal too, soon. And because metal has a certain sound, and it's hard to create it in a live way, you know?
Yes.
But you can also just say, yeah, but just doesn't matter. We just created a different type of sound. Why not? And but like the live thing I did, the last album I did was an album I did with an English singer, and his name is Joe Colliver. The project is called
Joe Don't Try.
Joe Don't Try. And it's, yeah, it turned out really cool. It's actually, I put a band together. We just wrote the songs. Joe and I wrote the songs with an iPhone on the table in my kitchen, and just smashed the acoustic guitar on. He was singing to it. That's it. Forgot about it. Like 3 songs in 2 hours. And what I did is I just booked a studio. I was the engineer myself. I just basically booked a room because I even brought my own equipment. And I put my iPhone on the table and the band inside. And I knew these guys are really creative. And because I really wanted to do real music again with people, right? And I said, okay, this is the song. What do you think? What's your idea? And it was magic, because in general, after 1 to 2 hours, 3 hours, we had the song recorded. I mean, it was it wasn't there before. It was just a basic thing. Sometimes we even had to put a bridge or something, and it was something magic. I was driving home that on the first day I was almost crying. It was like, what happened? It's like, it really was something that when I started to do music when I was young, I was very young, 11, 12. And then I had my first bands very early. And this is what I was always doing in the beginning. And so you create stuff with the people together, and then you have something created together. But it's a little bit lost these days. but I think you can get it back and you get really different results than you get in the modern way of production techniques. And I want to do more of this because it really is something very special that you cannot produce on your own alone, because it just stuff happens and it one comes to the next thing, you know, like it's somebody has this line, for example, a bass line, and then it's, oh, I never thought about a bass line like that. That's great. And then it totally gives you this, I don't know, Rolling Stones feel. And then it's, oh yeah, but we could do it like this too. And then this would never happen when you do it on your own. So it's something really special. And this is what I love, I have to say. I love this type of production.
Yeah.
It's magic. You should try it.
I can definitely relate, Sascha. You know, I do a lot of like jazz sessions, for example, where you've got the sheet music in front of you and you haven't heard the stuff before. And like one of the things for me that I think like holds the magic is those happy mistakes where like, let's say I play maybe like the wrong bass note or something, but it works and it sounds cooler than it did before, you know, or I make eye contact with the drummer and he, you know, I see him like try to slow something down or play a rhythm or something, and I lock in with him like that. And there's no way to plan for that, you know.
You can.
Yeah, it's the spontaneity, and I like to use the term happy mistakes because they can come out, you know, in the session you think, oh, you know, maybe that wasn't so tight or something like that, but then you take a couple days and listen back and you're surprised.
You know what also happens in this live situation? It's like you don't analyze everybody separately, like to the detail. You can't, because you don't hear it anymore. Everything comes together and grips into each other, like you know, what's the name of this?
Velcro.
Huh? Velcro is also good.
Okay.
That's not what I meant, but like I mean the wheels that.
Oh, like gears, cogs in a machine.
Yes.
We're all just gonna do this now.
So this really comes together somehow, and if you would zoom in and really check everything separately, you would find, oh, it's not really perfect. It just works in this combination of things, and it's like automatically locking in, but on a level that you cannot plan or do when you do stuff separately. It's impossible. But you don't hear it. You're happy. You get the result right away, right? And it's really
exactly
cool. And the best thing is without click track as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's what we did on the top. Like we just did 2 songs with click track.
Wow, that's amazing.
And the very best is if everybody's in the room and doesn't even have headphones on.
Oh shit! This is like really old school.
But that's what we did with Virgo back in the day.
Right.
It was like this. We just been in the room and no headphones.
Damn.
Wow.
That was really cool.
I wonder, I'm trying to imagine like Spires ever being able to pull off anything like that. Orchestration alone would be a fucking nightmare.
Okay, of course, that's what you do. You would put the orchestration afterwards. I mean,
sure,
of course. But you can still put overdubs on top. No?
Right, for sure.
Most of the times in these cases, you also don't do the vocals. You can, and it's great sometimes. Sometimes it's just problematic with the leakage. You know, it's very, you cannot have the singer in the same room. And as soon as you separate the singers too much, we will try it. Too much, you're in another room, maybe connected via video, then you can also overdub. You know, it's
that's fair.
Depends, but we did it with Joe, and I would say half of the songs are from the recording session. Sometimes it was here and there was repaired, but like some good stuff you would never get when you just be at home, you know, because you're not in the mood. So it's always good to record it and just take the stuff that came out great. And yeah, so also on Virgo we added strings and we added a gospel choir later on. This you cannot really do. I mean, we cannot afford this, to put like all these people in the room waiting for our failures to be better.
Well, the concept of going without headphones is pretty rock and roll. I mean, that's like For me, I've never done a session like that. You know, sessions without click, I think, you know, you put a lot of trust in the players, and so if you know them well, like, you know, like our drummer Dovis, I would be down to do a session with him without a click anytime, you know. And so I think that comes down a lot. But without headphones, it's you know, I imagine that the result is quite special and pretty
It is,
great.
you know, it's something really cool, because in this particular situation, we were like, it was a very good studio. It's unfortunately not existing anymore. It was the studio the best studio I've ever worked in. And I worked in there a couple of times. Some Rammstein stuff was done there, for example. It's in the north of Germany, and yeah, it was just great there. And so inside this room, when you had a drum set, it didn't appear to be so loud. So it was not loud at all, and no annoying cymbals.
Yeah.
And so then you have your position in there. So with your amplifiers, the bass players on the other side of the room, and the keyboard player, we had like everything live. We had a Hammond organ and like Rhodes, and I put clavinet. I said like, no, we just do the real. We don't want anything. We just do this, and this is our instrument. These are our instruments. So we also put it to minimize the possibilities a little bit, which is great sometimes. But then the way
I don't know what happened to the stream.
You see the drummer, you see everybody, and you can hear everything separate also. So you have a very good way of just, if you want to listen to the drums, you can see and listen very separate somehow. It really works good. It is not worse than the separation on headphones.
Yeah. No, I imagine so. And you know, I think a lot of that relies on the room as well.
The room has to be good. If the room is crap, that doesn't work. It's just noise.
Yeah.
I'm having an issue. Sorry, 1 second.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on?
Well, so there's no video, but if you're in the chat, if you can hear us, say something. I like how one of my bass playthroughs is the next suggested thing after this stream for me. Yes.
The algorithm on YouTube knows what you like.
That's right. That's right. So watch my own videos. Oh, that's amazing that you have like this like loading screen, Adrian, or like the wait don't leave, I just have to brew another cup of coffee thing. Wow. You're a pro. That's amazing. That's yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
That's totally okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I also just talked to you guys. It's already a nice evening.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's you know it's cool to be able to talk about like some of the like live session aspects, because you know I didn't know how you do things like in terms of actually being in a live session. So you know, so it's cool to hear your thoughts on that. And there, you know, like in my own experience, I've been in some bad rooms, and I've worked with some people that maybe don't have a lot of experience with certain elements, and they'd say, oh, let's forget the headphones, let's do it in the room. And you know, my experience is almost completely negative with some of those things, but I've also encountered 1 or 2 great results throughout the time. So like,
we're back,
you know, if that's the Sascha standard, hey, we're back. But so that's the, you know, I'm glad to hear you mention that.
But I don't even know when we lost it, but maybe we just continue with another question. But anyway, live recording is great. It just takes a lot of, it's exhausting a little bit.
Sure.
It takes a lot of concentration, and you need to just be fully there all the time.
Yeah.
My voice teacher, David, asked, is there any album that you've worked on earlier in your career during the 90s or early 2000s, such as Angra, Avantasia, Epica, Gamma Ray, Heaven's Gate, Early Camelot, Luca Turilli, Rhapsody of Fire, Running Wild, any of those, or something else that you would have done any differently with the technology and knowledge that you possess now?
There's probably some stuff that would have been done faster. stuff where we used a lot of that was just more technical, like Rhapsody, for example, would be done much faster because we needed much time back in the day. Some stuff was still done. For example, Rhapsody was done on ADATs in the beginning. This is really a pain in the neck. It was like 8-track tapes aligned, and one was always broken. We always needed one extra, you know, and it was a nightmare. And if you want to copy something, you have to recopy all the tapes and insert a part. And the automation of the board was running via MIDI and stuff like this. A lot of work. And if somebody asks, then I would like to have a second chorus there in the middle of the mix. It means 5 hours of work.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And you know, and it's not cool. And so sometimes we're sitting there, you're so happy everything runs. It's like, oh, I think there should be one bar less. It's like, is that really necessary? I would like to hear it. It's like, oh no, right? This I would definitely. That would definitely change. It would be faster, and if it's faster, it's a little bit fresher too, I guess. But a lot. It's funny you talk like he asked about Angra. I was just talking about Angra today, actually with Hugo Mariutti, which is the guitar player of Shaman, which is Andre's last band, and he is the brother of Louis Mariutti, the bass player of Angra.
Okay.
And I just talked to him today via WhatsApp, and we talked about that. I listened to the first Angra, Angels Cry, maybe 1.5 years ago. I showed it to somebody because she didn't know it, and so I played it. Actually, it was my girlfriend, Nadine, and so I showed it to her, and I was surprised how much I like it. There was this like thing going on that you don't hear so much anymore. Yes, it was not totally in your face, and it was not smashing your brain out, right? But it had a very nice atmosphere, and it a little bit the opposite. I would maybe make it different today just because all the stuff that you do now. But I'm very happy that I did it back in the day, that we did it back in the day. So it turned out the way it was. And I'm not a person of lots of regret, to be honest.
This is good. Teach me.
I just do the stuff. You are?
Ignore me.
You shouldn't, because I mean, you learn of your mistakes, and everything. It's a journey, right? And you shouldn't care about. I mean, you can never make it. You did it already. What can you do?
Yeah,
you cannot make it perfect afterwards. So you just try, and it's always also something that you can do better later. You learn from it, and you do it better later. And I just realized from a lot of mistakes that I surely did, I probably learned a lot too, and it will not stop. And I'm so relaxed now. You know, I'm also much easier with finishing stuff. I used to be almost having a heart attack in the end of production sometimes, and I did everything myself, also mastering everything, you know, and I stopped doing this a long time ago. Sometimes I do it, but I don't do it all the time, and I'm happy if I don't do it, if I don't have to do everything, right? Because what happens is in the very end, you really want to get everything perfect that you couldn't do before, and it never works, and then you go crazy. And now I just know it's not gonna be perfect anyways, but it's gonna be great. So because it's a mirror of what we just did in this time, and we did our best, and we should have our peace with that, right? And then you move on and do the next thing and try to do your best, and just try to be happy about what you did. And
everybody in the chat, write that down.
It's really much easier. It's an easier life, to be honest. Now I'm also much faster because I don't think about this stuff hundreds of times, you know. I just, oh, yeah, let's do it. I do it. Great, fine. If somebody doesn't like it, we can change it, right? But I'm really quick now in making decisions, or much quicker than I used to be. I don't try to every possibility. And you don't have to try every possibility. You can just work right out of your guts. That's what I'm not I'm such a big nerd in regards of. I'm very much a person that just does things right off his guts. Can you say it like this?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you know, I like personally, I think all of us inspires as well are sort of the mind of like, just make a decision, even if it's the wrong one. You know, as it's about keeping the motion and the process itself, because like you said, you can fix it. So yeah. So I don't know. I can agree with that.
Yeah, we try to record this way too, even or writing or recording. Like we go through this process of demoing things out and then playing together. Anything can change during, you know, from adding choruses to adding a flute part, and then we do track individually, but then even during those sessions, a note can change, a chord can change, a vocal can change, anything down to the last minute. And I think it's way more fun that way than to just have one guy or two guys just do everything and that's how it has to be, and just replace it with the real instruments and be done. Like especially when you're working with great players like Pete and Chris and Adrian, of course, you know, too. I think it's so much more fun to have at least a little bit of spontaneity available.
Basically, everything I was talking about now, because you just said being able to play with great players, makes the most sense when you have great players. You have to have the right people together. If you have, I mean, if you have to be at a certain level to be able to do this. Sometimes it can be better to make it differently if you don't have this type of players, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of trust that I think goes into that whole process. You know, as with like recording without a click, you've got to really trust the people that you're working with. And I think, you know, like working with Jack and Chris and Adrian is something where we all, you know, if something needs to be done differently, we're very straight up, but otherwise we put the responsibility in one another like 100% with the music and yeah. So like trust, I think is the right word.
Also, I think one of the most important aspects, and I'll talk about this with Toby a lot, is respect. Respect. There's no way of working together without respect. And it doesn't matter if somebody is working in that field. I mean, Adrian and I is a good example, because you might think I do this for, I don't even want to say for how long I do it. Very long. Much longer than her age. And so some people would say I'm right because I do it for such a long time, but I put her on the absolute same level, you know, because I have this total respect for her or for you guys. It doesn't really make a difference for me, right? And this is the only way you can work in a certain to reach certain things, right? So respect, and if you don't have it, it's not going to work. If you don't have it, just then do the stuff on your own at home alone, right? And it's sometimes hard if some bands have this problem. Like there's a problem with some people, some persons, and no respect, and it's always break. It never works. I've seen it so many times. It could be much better without this problem, right? So, and if it's there, it's problematic to work in a good way and to get good results, actually.
And it comes down to ego a lot. There are people these days that just have these massive, like they have to be right about everything and it has to be done their way, and that never works.
Yes, and super offended super quickly about anything. I mean, okay, this is anyway something of today in any regard, but also in music. I mean, if I have to be able to tell, this bass line sounds weird. And then it's like, it sounds weird. What do you mean? You don't like it? You don't like my playing? That doesn't work, right? So weird? Why? Oh yeah, maybe it sounds weird. You're right. But maybe you look weird too. You have to work on a certain level, and it has to be all right to be very, you shouldn't like talk around the corner all the time to be politically correct. You have to be on a certain level and to make stuff good. And then you have to be friends if possible. It's much easier, right? And the best combination is good people, that are good musicians with good conditions, technical conditions. I mean, obviously, that's the best you can have.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Transparency is like super valuable. And that's
transparency is also very important. Not like, okay, he just left. Let's just freaking do it anyway.
Right.
It's not cool either, because the problem occurs later. It comes back, right? So it just have to be cool and open, and it's not always easy, of course, when there are different opinions, different egos. But as I said, or as we already all agreed on, is like best is a little ego is good, a little, because you have to also sometimes fight for your stuff when you really think it's great, and you just hear somebody is just not really in the mood to change something, but let's try it. And so open to try something is also good. So, and then
I think that's where respect comes back in too, because like you have to have a bit of self-respect also for this to work. You have
this
to.
Is a part of respect, yeah.
Yeah, and then to be willing to try other people's ideas and not just take the easy way out and not change things. It's respect for everyone else and respect for yourself on the same level, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to like yourself also. I mean, that's the same for a lot of things, right? Not only music production. I mean, to be successful, the first step is you have to also like yourself.
Adrian's like, oh shit.
I mean, I think there's a difference between liking yourself and like believing in yourself.
Yeah.
And I definitely have days where I don't like who I am, but at least I think my ideas are pretty good. So
confidence can change whether it's a recorded performance or whether it's like hashing out a part or something like that, or just trying to get a discount on your pizza. Confidence. Yeah. If you go for it, you've got it.
It is like, for example, I don't know. Actually, Adrian, when somebody asks you, "Are you a good singer or are you a good orchestrator?" What do you say? Do you dare? Because you probably think you are a good singer. Are you?
When somebody asks this, I usually either try to say my jobs or my training so they can decide for themselves, and I don't have to be the one who says, yeah, I think I'm the shit, even though my self-esteem is low today.
But but I mean, if you are like yourself, if you're really believing into something that you did is really good, are you able to tell this to somebody?
In very few cases, yes. In the case of this new album, I will go around and say I'm very proud of it, and I think it's like some of the best stuff we've ever done.
This is so important, and you have to learn it even better, because but what many people don't do, and I don't understand it, it's like they say that talk about their failures too. I mean, I do this all the time. I say what I'm not able to do, and I think it's right to do it. But many people would tell me, you cannot say this. This is like not good for your career, and this is not good for people looking up to you. I don't care. It's like, but it's good for me because, because it makes me feel better. I don't want to lie about a certain thing, right? And I want to be honest. And the same goes now. And it took me many, many years to be able to say, I think I'm a good bass player for this and this style. Just as an example, right? I can do it easily. I can play, I have a good groove and this and that. I know it because I do it for 30 years or 35 years. And why shouldn't I, if I judge other people all my life, I should be able to judge myself in a recording. I mean, that's what I'm doing all the time. And to a certain point, I would say this now, I can do this and this good, and this is not my strong point. And once you are at this point, that really gets easier. But I have to admit, it took me lots of years.
So it's just like in the music or in the production side, it's not going to be perfect, but it'll be great.
Exactly. What do you mean? I didn't understand this. I'm sorry.
Just it's the same philosophy as not over perfecting things and being good about certain jobs. If you don't overanalyze, and you can't have failures, everything has to be perfect. It's just in life the same way as you were talking earlier about music.
Yeah, absolutely. This is all the same thing in a way. It's just a different field, but the psychological perspective is the same thing, I would say.
Talking about like pointing out your failures, I guess, or like talking about them at all, that was something that I learned from you a couple years ago, actually, was just to acknowledge them and be like, here they are, because after that nobody can use that against you. Like,
absolutely,
what are you gonna say? My left eye is droopy? Oh no, I didn't realize. Thank you. What are you gonna say? Like, oh, sometimes I'm out of tune because I only sleep 2 hours a night. Oh my god, wow, I didn't realize. Duh. So yeah, that was a great lesson. So thanks for that.
No, you're welcome. But it is like this. I mean, why? For example, this thing, like I bumped my head, I don't know, 3 years ago, and it doesn't go away. I could also just cut it out or like have it put makeup on, but I don't, because I'm not in the mood to do this now. So just maybe do it later if it disturbs me, but I would not try to hide it. Right? Yeah. And just as an example, because I say this because some people told me this, like, shouldn't you do something about this? So yeah, I could, but I don't care so much, right? Maybe just don't look at it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not bothering
or
you,
shut the fuck up.
Yeah, or shut the fuck up. Seriously.
Maybe that's a possibility, yes.
Right. Well, and I think in general, like musically speaking, talking about not even just your failures, while talking about your failures is important, but talking about things that you're working on. For me, if I'm trying to get my like slap bass chops up, for example, at a show, if somebody prompts that discussion, I'll start to talk about the aspects that I'm struggling with, because I think talking about it can also help you find answers, like as with teaching students, you can learn more just from having to break down the process or whatever. And I really like what you've said about like if you throw it all out there, nobody else has anything on you. Just gotta say it.
If you, for example, start losing your hair, I mean, actually my hair gets also thinner. I totally realize it, and of course, I would love to not have it happen, but okay, it's just the way it is. I was lucky to have lots of hair for many years. Many people lose it earlier, but it's okay. It gets thinner, and that's the way it is, right? And if you really have a problem with that, then your life is just it's not so nice. If you just say, like, look at this, the hair's getting thinner, nobody can come like, the hair's getting thinner with this guy, look at this. Say, yeah, and?
That's what I just said.
Yeah, that's what I just said. And? Go home.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's as easy as it is, right? And the same goes for stuff that you are not able, for example, it's the modern way of guitar playing, very different. It is a little bit different because it's much more technical, and people's approaches are a little bit different to learn very, very technical stuff very early, and they have good possibilities to train stuff on YouTube to learn, to have new skills from many players, many things you can slow down stuff, and it's very different times now. So many players are very technical and down to the detail and really, really good very early. And it's just a different way of experiencing music nowadays when you grow up and do music nowadays. And but you know what? I don't have to learn. I don't have to get there anymore. Why should I? Because I have my own way of going through the things. Anyway, I'm lazy as shit. I hate rehearsing. I like really. I was never training scales and stuff like that. Really, I was just playing, And I would not be the right person for doing this type of thing. I have probably a learning disability or something like this. It's just like I can't sit down and train stuff on and on, and and you work with that skill set, and you get certain things done with it, and other people work with other skill sets. But it doesn't mean that this one is much better than this one. It's just very different. And because what we want to do is express emotions, and I do it that way, and this person does it this way, and you don't have to. I mean, it's no fight or war. It's just like a variety, right? And it's good. And I some people go crazy now because they want to. Oh, well, there's this 12-year-old. He's much better than me technically, and but he's not allowed to drink beer after show.
That's right. Yeah, kid.
That was me for a few years.
I was gonna say, yeah, that was like all of us not that long ago. So yeah, that's some shit.
But it's also because you're not allowed to drink beer until 21.
Yeah.
Well, how is it?
Yeah, it's 21
yeah,
here
21.
in the States for sure.
But here it's 16.
Yeah.
Well, you guys got it going on.
That doesn't mean we don't drink before 21, just not in
know.
public.
I know in public you're not. It's just the same here. It doesn't mean we don't drink before 16.
My lawyer says that was a joke, everyone.
Yeah, of course. No, it's just like yeah.
It's interesting to hear your perspective on the guitar playing side of it as well, because I've definitely noticed that over the last few years there will be like like one or two like really cool, really different players that come out. Like the guy from Animals as Leaders is a good example of this, doing things on an 8-string guitar that are just so out there compared to what everybody is doing. And then it seems like everybody has to try and learn to do that thing just as good as him, until the next guy pops up and he's doing something totally different, and then everybody jumps on that bandwagon too. And it seems like people forgot that it's okay to be different, just because one thing's popular right now doesn't mean everybody has to do that until it's beaten into the ground and boring.
But that's not only in music nowadays. It's in everything, right? People really look up to other people and copy them, and it's really, individuality is not a big thing nowadays. People want to be like others and fulfill certain criteria of society. I see this everywhere now, and kids, they don't dare easily to be different. It used to be a little bit. When I grew up, it was a little bit different, to be honest.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if this is something that has always been, or is it something that's like more of a modern
some
thing?
stuff has always been there, of course. I mean, when talking about music again, when Eddie Van Halen popped up, of course, everybody wanted to play like Eddie Van Halen. It was like, what is this? Or Malmsteen, right? But still, there was just more people experimenting. It is like that. you didn't easily have access to all these things. There was not so much information. So you maybe got a Malmsteen album, maybe on tape, and that's what you got, and then you listen to this. And I think I never had a video, even like a teaching video. I never bought one in my life. I mean, YouTube wasn't there until I was, how old? We don't talk about this anymore, but very old. So you don't simply have the possibilities. So the only thing was, I remember still, maybe Peter, you know this because you studied jazz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever hear about Episode?
I don't think so.
Okay, that was vinyl albums. There were vinyl albums in the 70s. I think it started maybe even earlier. And also in the 80s, they still had it. And it was really a cool thing because what you had was like the band on one side and the solo instruments on the other. So you could just listen to one side and then you could play to it. It was like, wow, how cool is that?
Wow.
I mean, just imagine people thinking, how cool is that compared to today? The possibilities, right? So that was shit.
You still had to drop the needle in the right place, So,
that too, but
that's great though.
Just to say, individuality was easier to be developed because you couldn't copy so much, right? So, and it wasn't so easy to copy it. And then I was too lazy to copy stuff to the detail. I was always like, I was never like learning a whole Malmsteen album or something like this. People do this nowadays. I would never do it, probably. Not because I don't like him. I really think he's a great player. Still is, actually. And it just happens in another way if you don't have the possibilities. You just develop, you have like a big mashup of influences, that come together, and you make your own little thing out of it because you don't have a choice, right? And maybe this is the reason, because this individual thing was a little bit more strong back in the day. Also, I mean, if you go even further back, there was not so much background in music, so there was a little bit more to discover, right? And I mean, where does it lead? Now it's like it's getting tighter and tighter, put stuff together, mixing up this and that, but certain things were just starting, and 70s and 80s was really experimental, mixing stuff together, and until the modern music was developed. Now I don't know where it's going. I mean, if I have the feeling goes towards talking about commercial music, goes towards less melody. The melodies are very easy now, very simple. It's basically a rhythm, and like you have like 2 or 3 notes in the choruses, very different. And the music is very more like a simple, kind of simple, harmonically simple. Also, I mean, if you compare 80s English pop music, it's extreme sometimes. It's really the harmonical aspect of it. I don't know if you ever realized that, but some of the old 80s stuff from England, for example, is ridiculous. It's really extreme harmonic progressions, right? You don't find it so much. You don't find this so much anymore, huh?
Oh, we definitely had to pick some of that apart in like songwriting classes at Berkeley, both harmonically and lyrically, and it just I absolutely agree that they really don't make it like they used to.
No, not, but it's also not a quality for me. It doesn't really necessarily mean it's better or something, right? It's just developed into a certain way because somewhere it has to go, right? And and I'm a big friend of simple music, to be honest. And I'm a more groove oriented person also. So for me, groove and rhythm is very important. No? I'm also not as good in harmonical structures. I think my strong point is talking about strong points or weak points is like the rhythm and groove. But I would not, I wanted to study jazz guitar when I was a kid, and I probably would have had a hard time. playing, because I started to play bebop and stuff like that, right? And I think it was not made for my mind also. I just love to be taken away from something more simple, to be honest. I mean, Peter, you know how hard it is to follow all the changes, right?
Yeah.
It is something that you really have to work on in your head, and you have to work on it many years to make it a natural thing for yourself to
Right.
follow. Maybe people don't know what we're really talking about now, but if you talk about jazz tunes, bebop changes, and you as a guitar player, for example, you play very differently, and then like in a blues song or a metal song, you follow every chord, and you have to know a lot of scales, and then you have to forget about the scales to be able to make this really naturally. And it's a long way, and you have to want to admit to this big task. And then if you do, you be rewarded someday. But I wanted to be rewarded earlier.
When I first started going to school, the part of the reason I went to Berkeley is because I wanted to learn jazz so that I could be a better guitar player. Because that's what I heard all the time is, if you learn jazz, you'll be way better a musician than you ever will. And so for about 2 years, I really tried to study, to learn the songs, the vocabulary, the harmony, and I physically was able to play it, but I just never got to the point where it came natural. And so I was spending so much time thinking about, okay, I play this over this chord and then this over that chord, and it was all going by so fast. And I realized that I wasn't having a good time. I didn't like the way it sounded.
Pure stress,
and, it was just, there was nothing good. And there were a lot of people around me that just loved that kind of music, and I just wasn't one of them. So I went back to playing metal, and life got better.
But it made you a more happy person. So you have to do, because this is the way you work, right? Some people work differently, and they are super happy if they really go for it a lot and try to learn it, and they are rewarded with this ability. Maybe you want to be rewarded with the emotion that music gives to you in any way, right? And so it's a thing. Some people are like this, some people are like that, but it doesn't mean, for example, a jazz musician that is really with a big skill set, it's like, I've seen many, it's like ridiculous sometimes what you have to know to do this. And then you put in the same room a guitar player. We're talking about guitar players, for example. Let's say Joe Pass. I was a big fan of Joe Pass. Really good. And Stevie Ray Vaughan. But for me, it doesn't mean that Stevie Ray Vaughan is a worse guitar player just because his skill set is not the same. He's really fantastic and great, just different. And he has something else that is great and you cannot easily achieve. It was something really great, and it's just a different way of approaching things, right? And
well, I think a common misconception in the music student world is that, a lot of music students, myself included, when I got to Berkeley and whatever, I was like, okay, I'm a serious musician, I'm going to do this, and so I have to learn jazz. And that's what I think everybody thinks at some point, and they feel that pressure. And then a lot of people realize they're not in love with that. And this is the case with really any aspect of musical growth, I guess, is you try to convince yourself you're in love with something until you can't lie to yourself anymore. And and like, as going back to simplicity too, I think, Joe Pass, for example, when he's playing, a burning solo or something like that, his brain is probably in a pretty simple resting state during that time, as we would be, when we're playing
a pentatonic.
Right. Exactly. So
he's just so far ahead, like in this thing, right? With chords and stuff, and it's just natural. But it doesn't necessarily give you more chills than Stevie Ray Vaughan, but it gives me chills too, just different type, And so it's totally good to have him and Stevie Ray Vaughan. And many others,
100%.
And that's the good thing in music, right? To have so much variety. And this is something I want to talk about also now. It's openness in the heavy metal scene for such things. I mean,
Let's
this is what
fucking
I
go.
really miss. Openness of people, because I have this all the time. It's ridiculous sometimes. It's like, what are you fucking talking about? You know, we have this with Avantasia. We have it with, I had it with basically every band, that people really think, I mean, it's me doing it, you know, I decide what I want to do. And if they don't want that I do this, they should not listen to it. But they just shut up. Listen, if you want me to sound like, if you don't like my new stuff and you just like the old stuff, then listen to the old stuff. Well, let me go on with my stuff that I like, because it's my way of doing the things. Or listen to something else. But why wasting your time with writing bullshit on the internet about something that you don't like? Why do you spend so much time with something you hate? Well, this is ridiculous. Why do people do this? And then I see it was actually, I have to say this now, I'm sorry, I was actually on one of your songs where somebody was bitching around and like saying bad things about certain things. And I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. And I was going to his YouTube channel. I was like, are you fucking joking me? This is ridiculous. You are telling them that they are shit, but this is what you do. Ah, come on, you know. And this is usually the case. People are not, because the good people don't do this. People with good people anyway don't do this, but I mean, nice people don't do this. But also, usually people that are very good at something, they would accept other people, right? But if people are not happy with themselves because they're not so great in what they do, or if they don't like themselves, then they would bitch about other people. And this is it's happening a lot, I think. Also, I have a problem a little bit with people not being so open with, for example, they are power metal fans and there's nothing else, you know. I don't understand this. I don't really get it, because I was always listening to every music and be open to everything and let it melt all together. Okay, you have your preference, you can have this, but that doesn't mean that the other stuff is shit. And if you don't like it, don't listen to it, right? And if you don't like people melting stuff together, we always did this already with Heaven's Gate, right? People were like, what, the old power metal back then? It's just, yeah, then listen to the old power metal.
It's not going anywhere. It's done. No. It's there. You can listen to it forever.
Yes, absolutely. And it's going to happen to you too. I mean, it's probably already did. We like your first album much more. You go to, you know, it's Avantasia has this a lot. Like they talk about the first two albums. It's like, yeah, but I don't want to do this. And also Toby doesn't want to do this anymore in this way. It was a certain time, and you make stuff different now. And also because you've learned a lot, and you were working on yourself, and maybe you don't like it so much anymore yourself, and you just progressed, and that's it. And then you don't go back to what, I mean, how can you expect somebody to go back to the starting point of his career mentally? And you know, because it's all a long way, and either you follow it or you just stop somewhere. You know, for example, there are great bands like Queen. I have to admit, yeah, I also like the old albums more. Not 100% true. If I listen to Innuendo, for example, great. Don't like everything, but I tend to like the old stuff more on many bands. For example, can also be the Rolling Stones or whatsoever. But I would never dare to go to that page. What is the crap you're doing now? Do an album like this and that? Why? Just don't listen to it.
And Adam Lambert sucks. He'll
Yes.
never be Freddie.
Yes,
Disclaimer,
he's
like
the
my
point?
favorite vocalist. Yeah, there's no point.
There's absolutely no point of doing that, and just yeah.
And even if
Get a life.
let's say that for instance, if Toby decided, oh yeah, everybody wants to hear the old stuff, let's write a new album just like the old stuff, everybody will be thrilled, and nobody will be happy because it's like the old stuff, but it's not the old stuff, so I'm going to say that it's not as good as the old stuff. I feel like people like that just they need to complain, and they don't know the difference between like liking something enough that they want more things like it, and or just being unhappy with everything else. It's hard to even put into words, but just people that are going to complain have to complain because they're unhappy with what's going on in their own head.
I also think that these people make some bigger impact than they should sometimes, because you have, let's say, 1,000 fans on your page, and there are like 5 bitching all the time. It's a very small percentage, but it hurts you so much, and you think people are doing this all the time, but 995 are happy, right? And so it doesn't make sense. It just sounds like it because they are the loudest, because they want to tell you their opinion. Why should everybody else say, no, the new stuff is so great, yeah, it's great? Nobody would do this. People are just unhappy with changes sometimes, right? And if they cannot take the changes, then listen to the old stuff. Easy.
Yeah, right. Well, and like one of the things along those lines is the fact that even if we were, or any of us as musicians were to try and go back and do something, again, the same way, it would never be actually the same. There would always be something that somebody can pick apart and say, this is different. It's not like what you did before it, and because it'll never be the same. And
it doesn't work. No.
Yeah. Well, and the loud, like the people that are the loudest and maybe say the worst things. One of my favorite things to think about in that case is just that they're telling you about themselves. They're not saying anything about us. They're talking about themselves. And so, go ahead. That's But I'm glad that we opened up this discussion point, because it's something that I don't think is addressed all the time. And whereas I look at all of our metal colleagues comments and stuff like that, you see this stuff on every video, on everything.
Yeah. And I think we should just all learn to not care too much about it, because you will always have this and you cannot fight it, and I know many people that struggle with it big time, and even in this round and me too. I had just a situation, I have to say it now, even if I point people on it now. I wanted to check something on the net, because there was some guy here that I work with, and I wanted to show him his song. Talked about Avantasia, and he was upstairs, and I was just Googling it, and I found this version that we played in England. And usually, I was just reading through the comments, because I was just waiting for him. I was like, oh, let's see. And it was live, and it was running, and it was sounding fine and stuff. And then I was just reading, it was like, solo, what the fuck? And I was like, oh shit, that's my solo. And I totally fucked it up, and I was like, oh, I was feeling bad for a minute. It was like, oh yeah, then I remembered, Toby came, I'm a little bit sensitive with some things, I have to admit, I want to be in my own world, and I'm easily disturbed. And so Toby, I don't know, wanted to, which is also fine, play with something, and I was maybe not confident at the moment, and I completely lost it. And it's a solo that half of the solos I improvised, half I more like fixed, right? And I completely lost it and played like an idiot, and I was like,
happens to me all the time.
Yeah, but it's like, shit. And then I thought, like, you know what? I was almost about to post it on Instagram. That particular part, like, look how I fucked it up there. It's because it makes me almost feel better, because I do fuck up.
That's actually a great idea.
It's really cool to just post your own fuck ups yourself, and just here, before you go and try to find this are my fuck ups, and now go home. you know. And it's hard for me because I want to be perfect. It's a problem that I have, and I still have to. I'm addressing it. I have a hard time playing live because my confidence is not so high, and I'm used to record all my life, and I don't need to listen to this stuff when I'm recording it. I know it already when I'm playing what is good and what is not good, which is not such a good thing because I don't have to even analyze it anymore because it happens already, and I know every little thing, even if it's a small thing that is shit. Doesn't really mean it's shit for another listener on the live perspective, but I zoom in so much sometimes, then that really takes me down to a downward spiral, right? And this is not so really good. This is not so good, and I would like to work on this, and this is something I have to work on. And we talked about this many times, Adrian, right? And it's not a good thing, and this helps me now, just to, you know, I saw this, but you know what? I even saw it fucked up parts on Eddie Van Halen or Slash or whatsoever. People point that out. You know, you have it. It just happens. That does not mean Eddie Van Halen is not a great player. He was a fantastic player. I mean, one of, if I had idols, this was surely one of them. Really something really. He created something really new, right? And same goes for, I don't know, Yngwie Malmsteen. These are my generation of players. Okay, he's a lot of times he's spot on, right? But it's probably also not always perfect. But he has a lot of self-confidence.
Maybe too much.
Maybe too much, yeah. But it's good for being good live, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Something that a lot of people who aren't musicians don't realize is that as much as they hate or like to point out when we fuck up or something that they don't like, no one hates it more than we do. Like, we hate our own fuck ups so much more than you could possibly imagine. And pointing it out is like coming into my house and telling me that my wife's ugly and kicking my dog and that my kids are idiots. Like, that's
yeah.
You're just being mean at that point. We all know when we fuck up. You're just kicking us when we're already down about it.
That's actually a very good comparison. I mean, I don't come to your house. I think Adrian said this one time already also. I wouldn't come to your house and tell you this and that. I hate your living room because it looks like shit.
Yeah, I would just leave you the fuck alone.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be an asshole about it. But yeah, I like what you said about like your wife's ugly, your kids are stupid, I kick your dog because I hate myself. Me.
There's a big scratch on the left rear fender of your Porsche, you know. Fuck you.
Yeah.
But maybe you made it.
Sorry, go on.
You.
Well, so one thing that I think about, I forget who said this, but I came across this at one point. But why would you go to a live performance if you weren't expecting things to not be perfect? Because the only exciting thing about seeing people play music is that they're actually doing it in front of you. I've never seen an audience go more crazy than when one of us is really trying really hard to nail something, and we either do or we get close, or maybe we don't even get close. But that's what gets the people most excited. I think that's the excitement of a performance is having it not be, perfect. And I mean, there's a difference between the musicianship and the entertainment aspect, even though they are, very hand in hand. But if you're disappointed in a mistake you made as a musician, were people still entertained? Do they still talk about it? Is it still something that, they'd go see you again or not even that, So
if you look at yourself, being at a show, seeing somebody fucking up, that you basically think he's actually a great musician, would you think suddenly he's not good? No, he would be like, oh, cool, he also fucked up. Yeah,
it makes me feel better.
Great. But he's great anyways, and he entertained me big time. And this is something I have to learn, for example. And
I don't know why this made me think of this, but actually the Masters show in Mallorca when we were there, I also went to go see Powerwolf the night that they were playing. They're a hilarious band. For some reason, they just like I'm really entertained by them. But the biggest cheer of the night, the whole crowd just lost their minds. Is between songs, the singers he tells some joke and he moves on, introduces the next song, and then it's very emotional ballad. He starts singing the first verse. And then he just loses his shit laughing at his own joke from before he introduced the song. And everybody watching just started cheering and laughing and whatever, and it was the most entertaining part of the show is when this guy fucked up the song and couldn't remember the lyrics because he's laughing at his own joke.
Oh, that's the reason you liked our show.
Well, like when we were playing like The Path and somebody threw a beach ball on the stage and I was like, never gonna cry no more. Like it was so awkward. Do you remember that?
That is awkward. I actually didn't see that.
Okay, good. I didn't say anything, so never mind.
No. Okay, but that was the first ever show and only one so far. And of course, we were also a little bit insecure, right?
Definitely.
That was
me at least.
Oh, I was totally insecure, but happy that we could try it out.
Yes, definitely. Good that we good morning. Good that we managed to do it at least.
Yes, we did.
I enjoyed it.
So much preparation.
Do you have one more question in you, or should we wrap it up here?
It's good. We can. I can stay. Sascha, how about you? You got one more?
Oh, of course. If I have a question. No.
I have one more to ask you, and actually also Jack, just on the like production side. I saw also in the comments there were some people that were like, Sascha, you're amazing, and I hope to work with you one day. So are there any like repeated super annoying small mistakes that you get from like when people send you files, whether that's like vocal files or like Jack already looks like you want to spill some tea, but actually, do you want to go first?
I'm just thinking this is there are probably a lot of those just from the albums that you've done for us. When you get
like
files from us, it's just like, what the fuck were they thinking?
Yep.
I mean, I have to say, your stuff is so much better now. Don't talk about the musical skills, but the production skills and the way you prepare the stuff. The first album was a little bit of a mess.
That's because I sent you the files. Sorry.
That wasn't me.
Talk
that
about
totally
files. Me. I mean, it was many files, and it's just the point is you have to see if you send stuff to somebody and you're just in your own world, right? You're with all these things, and for you it's all logic and stuff, Then you send 200 tracks to somebody completely, maybe not in the perfect order. It's very hard for somebody that doesn't know the stuff to. I don't particularly talk about your stuff now, but many people, for example, they put their stuff in mono signals and stereo tracks, this and that, and I have to go and check okay, what is that? What is this? The names are weird, and it's hard to, they're not in time and not aligned, this is what you have a lot. And then you sometimes find yourself for like 2 or 3 hours just sorting the stuff, so you have everything in a session. And that should not be the case in a production. Then you kill a little bit of spontaneity. No, what's the name? Spontaneity. Oh, wow. Okay. So it's good if you prepare the stuff right. But on the other hand, it always works. If somebody does it, is not so experienced, still works, right? But this is what I get a lot. People that don't do it so much, and they don't really, they maybe did their own recordings and work on stuff all the time, but they don't really know how to manage to put the stuff together to send it out to somebody, and he would understand it right away. Like a good, now it was it was getting better on every album actually. With your stuff that came now was fantastic. I told you already.
That was
And
Jack's doing. Good job, Jack.
but
Happy to help.
also your orchestrations really improved so much.
Thanks.
Not that it wasn't good in the beginning, but so much easier to handle because you did so much more of the expression on the expression side of things. So on the first album, I had to do all the expression stuff by automate. So like going back, up, down, and fading out, moving filters on strings and stuff like this, so to make it sound a little bit more natural. But now I don't have to do this anymore. So I just put it on and I'm ready to go. So put something else, try to put something else on top of it, if possible, right? And not try to fix what could be there already.
Well, thanks. That makes me feel
So much
better.
improvement, really. Also the vocals, everything was always good, but I told you this already. It's fantastic to see a band growing like that. It's really, this really feels good. And in this case, also you stayed with me over the last years, and so it's very good to follow the path actually, because I could tell already that there's really a very talented bunch of people, and then you had even more afterwards, right? And then this fantastic bass and drums and stuff, and really good.
Thanks a lot.
So,
I'm
yeah,
embarrassed.
we're still getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's frightening.
For us too.
Where does it lead? Probably to a very good career, I'm pretty sure.
I would really hope so. But we need to get over there. Still haven't managed that yet.
Yep.
Sometimes it just happens suddenly. You just have to stay there. You have to believe in the things you're doing and just continue doing them. Don't try like, we're not successful, now we have to change something, you have to get more this and that. That's not how it works, I guess. You have to believe into what you're doing, and one day your day will come if you just believe in it. I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's not that you're not accepted at all. You have already a fan base and stuff is happening, right? It's okay. You're not playing stadiums, but you can be happy already. You had a long way. You already have a long way behind you. So, and a lot of improvement, and I think it's reward already, I would say. I mean, you are, I guess the critics, like the reviews, are very good on the new album, right?
So
And
far, we'll see.
The perceptions are good, right?
I think so, yeah.
Very, yeah.
And the new songs, the people like the songs.
Yeah,
and
people sent us like crying selfies and
the progress, right?
I'm sorry?
They see the progress.
Yes, and it's been good so far.
I was really like, I got the material, and I talked to Mira. I said like, wow, they really kick ass this time. They really improved so much. It's like almost ridiculous. And it's very well prepared and so good. And Miro said the same. Is listen to the whole album and said like, wow, this is really it's a lot of information, but it's good information too. I mean, it's not good to just put a lot, but you have to know what you put, right? And you definitely do.
Thanks a lot.
If there's anything we like to fool around with, it's pushing the limit of what is a lot and what is too much.
Absolutely, yes.
On all fronts.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we can somehow manage to put a lot in a not so annoying way. It's because sometimes it can be really annoying. I mean, if it's just full of stuff all the time, because it's always framed, like the framework can be like, first of all, it's played very well. And so it's not so annoying because it's very natural. So there's a natural flow also, for example, the drums, they still are kind of natural in a way, and it's not as plastic as a lot of stuff is today. And I really appreciate that. And they have very beautiful melodies, which are also many times missing in many modern productions. And so you have a pretty good combination of all the parameters you need to make a listener happy, I guess. And yeah, I think you will lead. It will all lead to a very good success.
I
as well.
really hope so. Thanks for saying all these nice things. I just noticed that the chat is like popping again. So, yeah. I hope everything will work out. I hope everyone will like the new album. I know that when we sent you the material, you, I hope it's okay that I mentioned this, but you were saying that you went for a more like organic, like band oriented mix. And I've seen a few of the reaction videos to our new singles, and people have definitely noticed. And I think actually that has been well received. And that is linked in my brain to something that I saw Vicky from the Agonist talk about, which is like there being, maybe it's almost time for a resurgence of this more organic, more like almost a raw sound, because we've had this like plastic perfection for so long, which also has its place, but we've had it for so long. And so like it's like you said earlier, like we have to keep progressing, and we have to develop in some direction, and maybe we'll do like a full 180. I mean, we as a group wouldn't do a complete 180. We're still gonna write emotionally charged symphonic metal, but like, yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. That's all I had to say.
It would be a good way to go, actually. I would be so happy if everything would be a little more organic again. And I'm pretty sure that basically everybody likes it more too.
I would guess
definitely
so.
do.
But it's almost like everybody I talk to. So I don't actually know why it is like this, because most of the people I talk to, everybody would say, it's so plastic nowadays. But why everybody's saying that, and why is it done like this then? I don't get it. And we don't dare to do certain things anymore, but we should. And I would definitely dare to do certain things in this near future.
Me too.
And I don't care if certain people don't like it, but I think it's the right thing to do. And I do it with the projects I want to do it with.
This was another lesson that I learned from you, which was like making sure that you make music for yourself and not in the interest of everyone else, because if you keep making music that is going to be like with the aim of being liked by everybody, you'll end up just kind of making shit that you don't really like. And I don't know, we talked about that over the last couple of years pretty extensively, I think, and yeah, I really I don't know, I really respect your opinions and your thoughts on that, and I have adopted that as my own. So if you see me saying that in interviews, I'm actually paraphrasing you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your belief.
I think you're so cool, dude.
And yeah, very good talking to you, actually. And it would be so great to see you all in person again.
Agreed.
It absolutely would. It's been too long. And I think, have you met Chris and Pete in person at all?
I haven't. We haven't met, Sasha.
No,
I don't think.
no.
I think you met Chris at the Avantasia show in Massachusetts. A while, some years ago, and I had a gig that night, so I wasn't there. But I think Adrian mentioned the fact that we really want to get to Europe, and and so when that happens, you and I will definitely it'll be great to hang with you and talk with you and everything, and man, thanks for saying all the kind words about our work and sharing some of your wisdom with us, because me and Jack and Adrian, there were a couple of times where either some of us or all of us were like, just from what you were saying, it's so great to hear your thoughts and have this conversation.
Thanks for being interested.
Very refreshing
Well
to
done.
hear.
I'm really happy to see how you were growing, each one of you. Really good.
Thank you, man.
I just caught up on the chat a little bit, and people were like, wow, Sascha dropping truth bombs. Sascha's so wise. Thank you for saying these things about like artistic confidence and like believing in yourself and stuff. So yeah, thank you for enriching our lives with your wisdom and your kindness and your authenticity. It's you really set a standard for pretty much any metal artist to try to dare to match. So thank you for having this chat with us. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say, but I figure we've been on for like an hour 40 and could be a good time to wrap it up. Thank you to everybody in the chat for joining us and helping us get rid of the assholes. That was great. And yeah, we don't want assholes here. And we'll see you probably again on Friday. We'll unpack This God Is Dead.
Oh.
But not with Sascha. Sascha has to do stuff. But maybe Chris will be
there.
there.
I'm there now every time.
You're welcome if you want to be.
You certainly are welcome. You're like, wait, no, that's not what I meant.
Don't want to invade you. No, that's a joke. No.
Then I am going to end the stream now. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for joining us, Sascha.
Bye.
And